think that I just come in there and look for knockouts, and that's not the case. I'm actually a sharp, smart fighter.
So, well, wait, I'm here. Who want to fight with me? Who?
I really don't care who's in front of me. I don't feel like no fighter can beat me.
Demolish everybody, to be honest. Everybody that's in my way. The pinnacle to any weight division is to have all the belts, all of the titles.
Welcome to Bodywork. Welcome back. It's Michael Rogers. Welcome to Bodywork Boxing. It feels so good to be back. Man, I hope everybody had a good, productive day today, man. I hope you did something to enhance your physical well-being. I know I don't allow myself to get online now and go live unless I got a workout in. Also, I hope you did something to feed your brain, something to sustain your soul. You know, cause we gotta be, we gotta keep it tight all the way around, physically, mentally, and spiritually, man. Cause it's a war going on outside no man is safe from. It don't matter if you 3 feet or 8. But I'm not gonna prolong the curriculum, man. I just wanted to get back into this series, man, and keep the momentum going. Of course, I got to give them a little snippet, a little tidbits of things that's going on right now, a little bit. Even though I'm not fully immersed into the circus, I'm staying abreast of the situation so I can be knowledgeable about what's going on, because this is the pulse of boxing. Fruits and veggies, not that Reggie. Fact-based content, not opinion-based, where I don't expect for you to say yes to me about everything. I don't expect for you to agree. What I do expect is for you to have an open mind and let he or she who has ears to hear, let them hear. What I try to do is give you an alternative perspective to enhance your critical thinking skills. The goal of the channel, the motto is silence is consent, meaning that if you're not saying anything, then you agree. And they say that all it takes for evil to prevail is for grown men to remain silent. And that your merch, like, no, I'm just playing. But yeah, silent. But gaslighting, man, I always got to bring that up, man. You know, this is the narcissist's favorite tool to use. I'm seeing that it's a lot of content creators out here that do a lot of gaslighting. You know, like playing dumb, playing naive, being forgetful, doing a lot of things. But the modern definition of gaslighting is a psychological manipulation technique in which a person tries to convince someone that their reality is untrue. It is a tactic often used by narcissists to gain control of their intended target. We knew that Sugar Daddy Sheik, he just came out not too long ago, a couple weeks ago, probably about a month ago now, where he said, yeah, I put out false information to do this and this. Gaslighting. And people was like, yeah, and we actually had people saying, yeah, I know why he did it. I got like gaslighting, man. Like, do not be a sheep. You know what I'm saying? Do not just run around, because that's very dangerous, man. You can't be led astray, ran him up all over the place, man. And one of the things I want to touch on right now is Cookie Monster sounding good, Bodywork. I appreciate that sound check, Cookie Monster, but thank you and salute the Cookie Monster. But one of the things I want to touch on, man, is something that happened here recently, and I want to show you an example of how people don't even realize that they're being gas lit, right? Before I dive into the, to the subject matter and continue the series on the Raw, A.K.A. the 140-pound division, where on any given night, any given fight, things can get tight, right? But okay, let me break this down for y'all, right? There's a brand of marketing right now in the sport of boxing where a lot of people have to manufacture the drama. Like we are going down this WWE path, this sensationalism path, to where if it's not organic beef, like genuine disdain between two boxers, they have to manufacture it. We seen it with the Keyshawn Davis and Dennis Baranchek fight, where they had to manufacture some racist stuff and do all this. And racism, man, this is why I don't like when we play around with racism, right? I don't like when we play around with it, because when it really happens, it's almost like the little boy that cried wolf. Like, so when things significantly happen and it's a clear-cut case, it's being diminished because there's all this fabrication, right? So in the Fatal Fury build-up, right, what they're trying to do this, T.O.'s doing everything in his power to try to sell. He's dressing up in costume. He's doing all these things, right? And people walked away from it because this too indulged in that brand of marketing where they're manufacturing drama where it don't really need to be. If it's not organic, it's enough things organic. Like Rolly and Ryan sparred before. Arnold Barbosa has been waiting in line for T.O. There are already storylines already there. Devin, he got his own thing with the comeback story. Ramirez, both of them right now, we got a GPS out on them. Like, we're trying to figure out where they are right now, because with Devin, being beat up by Ryan, and then the big O caused Ryan to be a star, let them tell it, even though Devin said he was surprised by the right hand right after it. Like they said, did the right hand surprise you? Yeah. So with him coming back, him moving up weight, Jose Ramirez, coming back after being getting his ears boxed off by Arnold Barbosa, he coming back, he's getting a big fight with Devin, and they all on T.O.'s Ryan's undercard, which is kind of wild, but it's a brand of manufacturing drama in these things. And I see that a lot of people out here are really just sheep, man. They just being led astray. So Bill had been doing a good job with not poking his head out, right? Here lately. He's been doing a decent job. Salute Smoke, salute the Bodywork. Salute Smoke. Salute, man. But Bill had been doing a good job at keeping his head out of the limelight, right? So it's kind of been like all eyes on Devin, right? And you saw these reports about how he went off on Todd Grisham and, this and this and this. And it's this common theme. And it's like we be so thirsty to try to cry about racism, right? Or discrimination. And they tried to make it like, oh man, they tried to divide the black father from the black son. And I'm like, hold on, man. Like, stop it. First of all, just like everybody been wanting Schofield to stand on his own too without Big Floyd, right? It's been time for Devin to stand on his own too without Bill, right? It's been that time. So from my perspective, for people to come out here and try to say, oh man, look at what they trying to do. To my recollection, Ryan has a father who's who was pretty vocal. Now he doesn't get all nasty and crazy like a probably like a Big Floyd, things that Bill done in the past. You can probably even say Brian Norman Sr. He doesn't get out there and be that messy, right? He's more of a laid back, after the fact, behind the scenes type. He's not the one that has to command the stage. But last time I checked, he wasn't on stage with his son, right? He's definitely not as nasty as Teofimo and his father. And last time I checked, they look at them like Teofimo and father, right? But Teofimo's father, he wasn't up there talking his smack the way he used to do. And people put him in the same vein that they did Angel. Well, they love Danny, but they some people had bones to pick with Angel, right? Well, a lot of people used to like T.O. I know myself, I used to be a big fan, right? But then it got to the point to where I couldn't stand all the things that he was saying. And then, I was thinking, man, maybe his father did rub off on him, because that's some stuff, that's some closeted stuff to where it's like they think that that's a good marketing tool, right? Bud came and checked it, nipped it in the bud, and basically made the man, confess that that's not a good way to promote. He didn't mean nothing about it. He was just promoting. But last time I checked, it was like 3 different father and sons. Now, Arnold Barbosa, he got a father that he gives all his credit to for getting them there. Now, he's not as vocal and all in front of the camera, right? Rolly even got a father that swam over here, right? But when we talking about the characters that's really like father and son, like, yeah, you can say Ryan and his father to a certain extent, even though his father is limited. But you definitely can say Teofimo and his father, and seeing some of the crazy stuff with his little raspy voice that they be saying, all the outrageous, Delenio, my son Delenio. Like, at one point in time, you couldn't get him to shut up, and people were just saying, listen, man, just let T.O. And you can see at some point in time that he used to embarrass T.O. I think he still do. And T.O. came out and said, listen, man, that's my father. Whatever you say, listen, I got to deal with it, but that's my father. I'm not going to apologize for it. That's him. We a team, blah, blah, blah. But the sheep were trying to make it seem as though they were discriminating against Devin and Bill. And I'm like, we got to stop this stuff, man. We try to latch on to the smallest, dumbest shit to try to get our panties in a bunch over some nonsense. Nobody wasn't discriminating. And yeah, people had questions, man. A lot of, like, Devin, he had popped his head out, but people had a lot of questions, man. It's still a lot of questions, but people always try to say that certain fighters be having this protection and all this, and like, it's not trying to like have Devin in a vulnerable state. But I was one of the ones when Shakur sat down in that when they had that, because they had a virtual one where Earl and Bud, they had a in-person one, red hoodie, black hoodie, right? But Shakur and Devin, they had a virtual one, right? On the Mob channel, on H Money channel, right? They had a virtual one. And I was one of the ones to say, man, I would have loved to have, like, for Shakur to have had representation when they were talking, because it was like him against Bill. He was trying to be lightweight, respectful. Bill know that he can, he can kind of overstep his boundaries because he's a habitual line stepper, A.K.A. like Charlie Murphy said, like, he crossed the line and then boop, we got to bring him right back. Like, the stuff he said about Bernard Hopkins, putting up the mug shots of Tank, calling him a monkey, doing all these things, right? Habitual line stepper. But I've never seen so much crying for this dude because he's a habitual line stepper. I was applauding him because I hadn't heard much. And then when I seen Devin, like the few times when I seen him, it was kind of like it was all Devin. I'm like, that's what people want to see. The same way people be wanting to see Floyd by himself. Right? But to come out and try to say that, oh man, they was trying to divide. They was trying to, I'm like, come on, man. Come on, man. It's better storylines. But people did have questions about Devin returning. They wanted to know why you didn't want to fight back why you just let your strap go. Why you didn't want to fight your mandatory in Sandor Martin. Why it look like it's a whole bunch of people at 140 left to just clean up all the dirty where you pounced on Regis because he fit the criteria, shorter reach, smaller guy, you rehydrate up, Come to find out it was a weight class on it. But whenever you ask the questions that everybody else that you're asked, like where you could berate certain fighters and you can just straight up just say what, make up stuff about these other fighters, ask these other fighters straight to their face about all these other guys, anything nasty or anything that might make them look and sound dumb, it's always protection for Devin, Lil Debbie. And I don't understand it. It was not no discrimination because I didn't see any other father up there. So if you're gonna say they discriminated against Bill, then you can say they discriminated against T.O. And right now, I have no passion to try to represent or defend T.O. None. But we be so thirsty, and I'll be trying to tell you, man, like, listen, a lot of times the things that will quench your thirst aren't the best things for you. But when you thirsty, you'll damn near drink anything. So that's just food for thought, man. Stop with the little narratives about how somebody always doing something to little Debbie Pooh. Ain't nobody doing nothing to him, man. That man is a grown man. He gets all the merit for all of the accomplishments, all of the fruit salad he got, being undisputed, being a 2-time champ, moving up in division. Like, he gets all of the accolades like a real man because he went in there and did real things. He, on one end, he's the first person that's gonna, first and probably only person that's ever gonna fight one time and get undisputed. That's one. But he also went up there and spiked Regis at a time when nobody seen him do Regis like that. We give that man full credit for that. It's time for that man to stand on his own too. He do not need somebody protecting him, and we as a community don't need people to propagate these silly ass narratives about how somebody always discriminating in the black stuff and this, because when there's really something that's being discriminative, things that are really discriminated or wrongdoings based on race, right? We water it down because we fabricate it, like what Keyshawn did with that Baranchek situation. So who gonna have your back when you really get done wrong on some racist shit? Nobody. So don't be a sheep. Use your critical thinking. If it wasn't just against Bill not being up there, they wanted to hear from the fighter. That's why Teofimo Sr. wasn't up there. So stop with the madness, and that's it for the circus. But don't be gaslit. Don't be led astray. Like, you know what I'm saying? Use your critical thinking skills. Act like you've been around before and you know what's going on. Now, only other thing I got is that I think, man, I'm kind of before I get into the 140, but I'm kind of like disappointed in myself that I didn't really like. I used to like Keith Thurman, right? But I didn't consider myself like the biggest fan, like because I felt like he let us down, man, by underestimating Manny Pacquiao, and it kind of like threw what should have been like what people would have said was more legacy if Ugas wasn't inserted in the situation. If Keith still had the belt, it was going to be an opportunity for him and Earl to have to fight because he would have still had the belt, but he got Manny, and then Manny, at some point in time, we start looking at Manny like, you're just too old. Like, Manny coming back on, yeah, it's cool to have a name on it or whatever, but that's different than like Loma and all that, even though people saying he too old, but that's different. But I think boxing in some shape, form, or fashion, I'm going to say it now, man, boxing kind of need Keith Thurman, man. We don't know what's going to happen in the morning. You know what I'm saying? I think the card started like 3 a.m. because it's over there in Australia. He's fighting this guy named Brock Jarvis, who ran into Liam Paro and got annihilated. But he's getting ready to fight. I hope he fares well because I do kind of want to see Keith Thurman with a little bit of the ring rust knocked off. Healthy and strong. I wouldn't mind seeing that Tim Tszyu and then seeing what happened if he's gonna walk off in the sunset or if he's gonna be reinvigorated. I kind of want to see it, but like how he sells fights, he does it organically. He does not have to include racism. He's witty. He can mock his opponent, like, because he has a thing to where he got that Adrian Broner Floyd thing to where they got to give the gab, quick with it. They damn near go viral whenever they do it. these are the kind of things that we need to appreciate and other boxers need to look at to be able to develop fights and build hype around fights without being so negative and using dumb shit that we don't need in the sport. So I'm kind of disappointed that I didn't, I'm kind of disappointed that I really didn't look at Keith like that until like it might be a little too late. But I think boxing needs him, whether he's going to still fight 2 or 3 or 4 more times or like 2 or 3 more years, or he has to become not like I mean, yeah, he probably killed Sean Porter when it comes to podcast and interview. He's more relatable to me. You know what I'm saying? He's more relatable to me. But commentate, man. Like if he could take Abner Maria's spot, man, like, something like that, I would love that, at some point. But he's fighting in the morning. I'm sending in positive vibes to him, man, because I do want to see him against Tim Tszyu. That'll be a good little storyline. They got history. They were supposed to fight, but the Fundora thing happened, and Tim Tszyu wound up getting smacked by Murtazalia Bakram, the boogeyman of 154 right now. The one who only people I think said they will fight him is like Jermell and Charles Conwell. Charles Conwell might be the only one that's gonna try to go slay that dragon. I hope they line it up because Bakram, man, they're gonna try to wake that man up. Ain't nobody saying his name, and they're gonna try to boogie on past him. I don't think even after this fight with Brock Jarvis, I don't think even Keith Thurman can go in there and get with Bakram right now until he get, what I'm saying, he would have to get another couple fights on this belt before I would say he would even have a shot. But if he is like 80% of who he was as far as boxing wise, and he's really serious, and he's in his mental prime, maybe not physical, but in his mental prime, then he might have a shot. But that's coming up in the morning. So by the time most people wake up, the fight will probably be over and you'll have to watch the highlights or do whatever. But that's coming on in the morning at like 3 a.m. Salute to Victor Colon. Bodywork, salute to you. 100% Puerto Rican. His twin, Bodywork, salute my guy. Salute his twin. Salute Victor, salute his twin. I appreciate it. Now, let me go ahead and get into what I wanted to get into. But that's all, man. We got to clean up a little bit of the talk and stop being so naive and letting people just sway you. But this is what everybody came here for. Help out the algorithm, hit the like button for me if you haven't already. But this is what everybody came here for, right? Now, I dove into this yesterday. I cracked back into the series I was doing with 140 where, like, pretty much Subriel Matias was headlining it, right? He was spearheading it, right? And I said that the 140-pound division has been reloaded, right? These are the guys that are sitting in the seats right now. Gary Antoine Russell got the WBA. Alberto Puello got the WBC. Richardson Hitchens got the IBF. Teofimo Lopez has the WBO and he's lineal. Delineo, boss, Delineo. But there are some problems. And this is just the tip of the iceberg right here. There are some problems at 40. And I was thinking about guys who I said, you know what? They're probably going under the radar. Some guys that, not Subriel. Subril's not under the radar. I don't even think Jermaine Ortiz is really under the radar. I think that until he fights, he got a fight coming up too. But until they fight, people don't include them into the equation. Subriel Matias is a real problem, right? And I'm hearing, I know he's high, and we're going to look at this. I know he's high back in that IBF, right? And it should be, everything should come full circle with Richardson Hitchens, right? Fighting Subriel Matias. That's the fight that really should happen. Why? Because Liam Paro and Richardson Hitchens at one point in time was supposed to fight a title eliminator for the IBF. Well, they went their separate ways. Right? And then ultimately, Liam Paro wound up getting a shot. He relieved Subriel Matias of his strap. There was no rematch. And he was gone with the win. So then we had this. I said it was legacy defined, right? A lot of people were sleeping on Richardson Hitchens. He wound up doing what nobody thought he could because they wasn't checking for Richardson Hitchens. I don't know what it is about him, but people don't check for him, even though they say they like the classical boxing. You know, he's from New York. He's homegrown. He's not manufactured. He has one of the best resumes there, outside of actually fighting for titles, but he was not manufactured. He went through the ringer. You know, he survived TMT. Well, he was able to dethrone Liam Paro, right? And we don't know what Liam Paro is doing right now, but Liam Paro is still a force to be reckoned with. And the only reason why I actually chose these names is because these names are guys that don't typically nobody in conversation just typically pop these guys' name out. But these guys, like even with Frank Martin coming off the Tank loss, these guys and Frank, because a lot of people tell me, oh, he was drained, man. Frank was campaigning at 35. He had one of the better resumes at 35 than a lot of people at 35. Right? But that goes unnoticed because it's really a popularity contest. A lot of people think that his stock went down because, you know, Tank was able to get him up out of there. But the thing is, he's been missing. But they were trying to say he was drained. Well, he's really at 140. And we're going to look at this, but he's not in the rankings, right? But he's still going to be a problem. And I think it's a matter of fights being made and who's going to make the fights. And we know what umbrella he was under and who he was affiliated with, but it was a lot of question marks with him and Errol Spence since the two things that they endured, right? Jermaine Ortiz, I put him on there because he arguably beat Lomachenko and Teofimo Lopez, and he's an afterthought in everybody's book. He also changed his fighting style a little bit. He became more fan-friendly, right? He's not going to sit back and do all that. And I think him being in the ring with Teofimo Lopez, after really outboxing him, it was the business of boxing that awarded Teofimo the decision, even though Jermaine Ortiz had did enough, if you look at the scoring criteria, to actually win that fight. A lot of people were saying that, myself included, right? But he kind of dips off and he goes unnoticed. Well, he got another fight. In his last fight, he actually got a stoppage. He pressed forward, he came forward, and he stopped it because Jermaine Ortiz ain't a little guy. And he came up in the amateurs. I seen footage of him fighting Boots in the amateurs. He mixed it up with all them guys. He's just an afterthought to the conversation. Kenneth Sims Jr. was waiting in line for a long time. He just had a fight where he had to, I think he had to pull out or something. He had got hurt or something. Then he came back. Wasn't the best performance, to be honest, of Kenny Sims, especially with, you know, all the things I hear about him and what I've been knowing and how he's been standing in line for it. So I wouldn't judge him by his last performance, but he can actually, you know, he's more than formidable. And I think that he can give a lot of these guys like Arnold. I think he'll give an Arnold Barbosa problem. He'll give a lot of these guys problems, like on any given night. If he's on his A game, he'll give you problems, right? I'm not sure what was going on with the injury. I'm not sure if he was up for the guy that he last fought. I'm not sure based on his last performance, right? But on tonight, the dark horse right now is this guy, Tito Mercado. It's another guy that he's moving fast, but the level of competition the level of competition that he's facing, and everybody that he's following behind, because he called out Wily Kid and Wily Cat at the same time. Cursed them out. Rings when they was sitting ringside, the same time when everybody was making a big to do about nothing about Andy Cruz and how Keyshawn turned his back and all that and how that was acceptable, whatever, because Keyshawn showed no respect to Andy Cruz and he didn't want to dap him. That night when Tito Mercado actually stopped Pedraza, he called Wily Kid and Wily Cat out to their faces. And they just brushed him off. But he's been tracing these guys, right? Just like a lot of people trace Tank, how they go and they fight somebody that he fought to try to show and prove, because they're saying that they working their way towards the Tank because I want to do this. Tank did this to him, I want to go do this. That's what he's been doing with their opponents. Only when he gets to him, he's doing it faster and more devastating than they have. I won on my parlay with Tito Mercado. He got that man out of there in 4 rounds, man. 4 rounds. A lot of the guys that these guys like, and we'll look at this, but these are not the names according to the rankings. Now, what we're gonna do is something I've been doing before, where I was actually showing you guys like we knew about a Steve Claggett beforehand, right? We knew about that before it even happened because he was in the rankings, and we're gonna do a little bit of this tonight. But I think the most likely one to actually get a shot and be able to actually probably grab it like right away is probably Sabril Matias. He's being heavily avoided. I think that he signed with Matchroom to play keep away for a little while so everybody can do this. And if you notice, Devin jumped up there. He was only there for a cup of coffee and he got up out of there. And we already know why. Because on any given night, he can go down. So now he's picking Jose Ramirez. So we considering him a welterweight. Even though it's a catchweight, nobody's talking about the catchweight that he's fighting at a catchweight. Nobody's even talking about that. But a catchweight, rehydration, all that, other fighters get slandered for it. But this was the row. The landscape changed. See how the landscape be changing? These guys were formidable. We seen what Sandro Martin was able to do with Alberto Puello. But this is the pulse, man, because I tried to tell y'all a while ago, man, who it was and what it was and some marquee players and all that. So it would behoove you to understand that at least 2 or 3 of these guys are going to do something. And I don't know. I don't think Matias is going to go anywhere. Jermaine Ortiz, you might see him at welterweight. Of course, Tito, he's young. You probably going to see him at welterweight. And it was one other guy that I wanted to put on there, right? And I really should have still put him on there. His name is Rohan Polanco. And if Rohan Polanco did not go to welterweight, he'd definitely be on here. Him and Tito Mercado are like problems for everybody in this division. I'm not gonna lie, man. Like straight up, like they will give problems to anybody at 140 right now. And these guys, they're not gonna get the pub. People are not gonna be ringing their doorbell asking for no smoke. They not. He said T.O. out here slapping him. Yeah, I seen that, man. I seen T.O. doing that. I seen what he did to Barbosa. That was a quick little slap, man. And I think Barbosa, man, he talking like he really. I don't know, man. I think he gonna stop Barbosa, man. I think T.O. gonna stop that, man. But they selling the fight. But I wanted to do this, y'all. I wanted to do this. Let me see. I wanted to do this. Oh man, it's oh, I gotta redo my security so we can actually I gotta give permission. Let me see. Let me see. Bear with me while I get I gotta give StreamYard permission once again. Because of my screen issue, I had did away with StreamYard for a second, but I was like, man, I'm a creature of habit. One second, y'all. Oh man, why are they doing this to me at this time? It should let me do it. Let me see. It should let me do it now. Let me see. Okay, here we go, y'all. Here we go. Bada bing, bada boom. You know, thank you for your patience. You know what I'm saying? But let's look at this. The super lightweight boxing rankings, right? We already know who has Delineo, the ring, right? That's Teofimo Lopez. And we talked about this yesterday, but as a refresher, he is the most tenured 140-pound champion right now. Legacy-wise, has the best resume, the names of note, and these are the rankings. So they got no. Alberto Puello at number 2, Richardson Hitchens at number 3, Arnold Barbosa number 4, Jack Catterall number 5, Liam Paro number 6, Sabril Matias at number 7. They still got Josh Tell on here, 19-2. Andy Hirioka. And they got Jose Valenzuela El Rayo at number 10. I don't know. Do y'all agree with those rankings? according to the ring. That seemed a little funky to me, man. It's a little bit, but I mean, I'm not gonna kick up much dust about it. But that's a little funky to me. In the WBO in junior welterweight, there you have Teofimo, and you got Arnold Barbosa with the interim title. They giving these interims be giving away like candy, and it's crazy because when people be painting these narratives, they'll say, "Oh, yeah, he do have a belt. He do have a belt. It's an interim." But when it's another champion, it's like, "Oh man, that was a Reggie. That was this." So it's like that's the gaslighting aspect of it. But in the WBO, you got Alfredo Santiago. Now, history about Alfredo Santiago. Now, I believe that Alfredo Santiago has gotten better. I believe that he has gotten better. Right? And a short little history lesson. A short little history lesson on Alfredo Santiago. I don't know if y'all recall, but when Devin Haney got that belt, right? When they elevated Loma, right? When they elevated Loma on that bullshit, the same thing they did with Canelo, right? Where people recognize Canelo as being supreme because he had the franchise. I don't know why it's a mystery down at 35. When they elevated Lomachenko and tossed the belt to Dev, when that happened, right? It was a period in time where they could have made that fight. They could have made the fight. But Devin chose to bring over no other than who? No other than who, class? All right, I'm going to give y'all the answer. Alfredo Santiago. Why? So he could legitimize that strap that they sent him. That was the first guy. Remember that? And Alfredo, Alfredo, he started off good. He was catching Dev with the right hands. Devin wound up catching up to him and stopped him. Yeah, I think he stopped him. But you see, he's on the rise. He went up too, right? Then you got Isaac Pitbull Cruz. If you don't know who Pitbull Cruz is, I still think Pitbull is out of his league up here at 140. He would be even more dangerous if he went back down at 35. But I think he just going. I mean, because he got the dimensions and the size, and I think if he really wanted to, he could make weight. But he could probably still wreak havoc down at 35. But I think that dimension-wise, and if you got any kind of skill, any kind of power, man, like he's easy picking for a lot of these guys. I mean, people like Isaac Pitbull Cruz because he's going to come bring a fight. Last time I seen him, he stood there like a fucking pinata. And he's going to be one of them guys with, like, if he keep fighting that style that he got where he's standing there trading and getting hit like that because he got a beard. And let me tell y'all something, man. Let me digress for a second. Like you can't sit up and do a whole show about whether or not Isaac Pitbull Cruz got a beard. It's not up for debate. But if you have to have a debate about it, he don't got a chin. They got Jack Catterall at number 3, Sabril Matias at number 4, Mike Quan Williams. You got to remember that name because he's pretty high. Mike Quan Williams, Aram Fanian, Lindolfo Delgado. His name's starting to ring bells. Jose Ramirez. They got Jose Ramirez down here at number 8. And him and Devin are fighting at welterweight. They fighting at welterweight. Anything past 140 is welterweight. So they fighting at welterweight. George Kambosos, this is another guy to where they just keep giving this guy, and nobody cries for this guy. They keep giving this guy opportunity after opportunity after opportunity after opportunity after opportunity. Nobody cries. like they did for Gary Antoine. Nobody be crying, running around crying and then whining because Gary Antoine got another shot, even though he was avoided. Like he was like 17-0 with 17 knockouts, and nobody was trying to see him, even though they kept matching him. You know, and people talking about his inactivity. He was only as active as it would allow because a lot of people wasn't fighting him. But ain't nobody crying about George Kambosos. And it's like they're using his name to run it up. After you seen Lomachenko, and it's funny that Lomachenko stopped this dude, and now all of a sudden he's too old to fight Tank. And why would Tank want to fight old man Loma and all this? But just when Devin fought him, it was cool. But just he get all the credit for doing what he did to George Kambosos. That's cool. But now he an old man. But George Kambosos is another guy that he caught lightning in a bottle against T.O. He don't have the dimensions. Like, you know what would be a good fight? George Kambosos and Isaac Pitbull Cruz down at 135. At 135. That would be a fight. And you know why I bring that up? Because one point in time when Teofimo Lopez was down there and he was contemplating retirement, them two was actually going to fight for a belt. That's history. But them two, George Kambosos and Isaac Pitbull Cruz, are not 140 pounders, man. They're 135 pounders. I think Kambosos is getting a little bit older, and so cutting weight and doing all that, probably his body probably caught up to him. But he does not have the dimensions to compete with the higher echelon guys at 140. It just is what it is. Regis Prograis, we know about the war between him and Josh Taylor and what happened when Josh Taylor was on his quest for undisputed, and ultimately he fought Jose Ramirez when Ramirez was like, he was sitting on top. He was up there, man. He was up there. Jose Ramirez used to be nice. You know what I'm saying? Maybe we'll see a glimpse of that, you know, when he go up against Devin. Dalton Smith, his name is ringing bells. A lot of people bring up Dalton Smith. Like, his name is starting to ring a lot of bells. A lot of bells. Nestor Bravo, his name is starting to ring a lot of bells, but you see they dropped him down 5 ranking. Here go another name, this Andy Hirioka. And Hirioka actually TKO'd Jin Sasaki, and they said that Jin Sasaki had problems making weight in that one, and Jin Sasaki is now a welterweight. But if Andy Hirioka, because my guy AC, he's very high on Jin Sasaki, but Andy Hirioka actually TKO'd him. Elvis Rodriguez, man. Elvis Rodriguez is I think Elvis Rodriguez is a very underappreciated fighter, man. I thought, man, I was liking the story, man. Actually, I love this story, man. Like, he was over there with Top Rank. They got rid of him. He went over there and with PBC, and he started rocking on, and then he went back over there to Top Rank, and it's just been, he was with Freddie Roach, not with Freddie Roach. It was this opportunity, not that opportunity, and I'm just like, I don't know why Elvis couldn't stay active, but he's a pretty big boy, man. If anybody is struggling with weight, because he's a pretty big dude, and Elvis is one of them guys to where if he was a little bit more active, I would have loved to see Elvis Rodriguez and somebody like Gary Antoine, because Elvis Rodriguez got home run hitting power, man. Like, if he was active, if he just stayed active and he was in the gym and he had, you know, and he could fight 3 or 4 times a year, he would really be a force. Then you got Daishi Nagata, and they say that Arnold Barbosa dropped out of this. Of course, he probably would drop out of it because he got that interim now. So, of course, he would, right? Then in the IBF, you got Richardson Hitchens, 19-0, like one of the most underappreciated champions right now. So for all these people like, man, I like the classical boxers. I always want to prefer the boxer over the puncher and all that. They don't give Richardson Hitchens no shine. I wonder why. He got the same thing in common with Sabril Matias. I wonder why. And a guy from a place basically talked about colorism at one point in time. I was like, Eureka, that's how y'all see y'all people. So the light-skinned ones and the dark-skinned ones. So y'all be dealing with the same stuff that we be dealing with over here in the States. The light-skinned versus dark-skinned shit, right? Y'all be dealing with it. That's why I brought this up a while ago. That's why I brought this point up right here a while ago. It was a double entendre. The dark side of boxing, because that's one of the reasons why the man really don't get no shine. It's as stupid as it is, because Bud is recognized as pound for pound, and they bought the same complexion. They bought the same complexion, to be honest. But that is a real thing, man. People from those cultures, especially down there, like them Dominicans and them Puerto Ricans, man, they be on that shit, man. I'm like, man, like we don't need that in the sport, man. We all cousins, uncles, sisters, brothers. Just where the boats landed at and they docked at, man. It's no different, man. You can't tell me if you seen somebody like, if you seen De Los Santos. If you was on the train and you seen De Los Santos sitting there, before he opened up his mouth to say anything, he looked just like one of your cousins, bro. We got to get off of that shit. We got to get off of this. That's why I don't like when people be doing that light skin, dark skin stuff. I don't like when people be doing that racism stuff. I don't like when we just insert it when it don't need to be there. That shows me that your mental capacity is very, very small when you hinge and you harp on shit like that. That's for simpletons. As I digress, they got Subriel Matias at number 1, right? So he should be up next to Richardson Hitchens. It would only be right for Richardson Hitchens to come full circle, and fight Subriel Matias. There is equity in that fight. Why? Because Liam Paro took the belt from Subriel Matias. When Liam Paro and Richardson Hitchens should have fought for a title eliminator, they decided to go different ways, right? Going to fight other people, and then Liam Paro gets a fight with Subriel Matias, relieves him of his strap, and then Richardson Hitchens ultimately gets his shot at Liam Paro, takes his strap. It would only be right for Subriel Matias to get his shot at Richardson Hitchens. And then we can really have a true triangle. It would not be a theory at that point, because they all would have fought and we would have empirical data as to what would happen. But there's a conversation about Richardson Hitchens fighting George Kambosos. Now, on one end, I kind of agree. Why? Because everybody else is granted a layup once they get, like, so for other champions, they'll campaign. Like when Devin won his strap from Regis, they wanted him to go get anybody. They were looking for the softest touch for him to get. Like they doing it right now with Keyshawn. They looking for the softest touch now that he got his title, for him to go, you know what I'm saying? For him to go look all, extravagant and all this up against. So why wouldn't Richardson Hitchens get a soft touch like Kambosos, who don't belong at 140, to defend his strap? And then after that, see Subriel Matias. Get the payday, you know what I'm saying? Go in there, beat the brakes off George Kambosos. Show that, you ain't going to be in there going 24 rounds with George Kambosos like Devin. Go in there and stop his ass faster than Lomachenko did. Put the Beats by Dre down on his ass. And then go get Subriel Matias. Or allow Subriel Matias a shot at that belt. That's right in my book. That's right in my book. That would make sense to me. But here you go. You got my guy up here again, Elvis Rodriguez at number 5. Right up under Liam Paro. And Liam Paro is a consummate. I like Liam Paro, man. I was calling him the Green Goblin, man. But I like Liam Paro, man. I think that I think if it looked like he got his will broken by Richardson Hitchens, because when somebody knows how, and I said this would be the deciding factor, that reach, the discipline and the reach and the coordination from Richardson Hitchens. When you got one of them technical boxers who know how to stay with their reach and they stay disciplined, and you can't figure out a way in, and every time you get in, you get met with a jab, you get hit, you know what I'm saying? You get hit with the 1s and 2s, you get hit with the jab, and then the right hand upstairs or downstairs, and once you start guessing and you can't get in, because by the time you get in, you might be able to get some wild shit in, but by the time you get in, they've already taken a step back or pivoted out, and they're already coming right back at you, because you can't, arms too short to box with the guy. I think that fight with Richardson Hitchens showed Liam Paro a lot of things, and if he's back in the gym, working on his craft, looking at that film and figuring out what. But a lot of people can't box like Richardson Hitchens. You know what I'm saying? A lot of people are they take Richardson Hitchens for granted, but they can't box with him like that. But I think that can be not just a loss, but a lesson. The same way Gary Antoine, when he, you know what I'm saying, he got edged out by Puello, that can be a lesson for Liam Paro. And I'm thinking he's going to be fine. I wouldn't mind seeing a Liam Paro with like up against a Kenny Sims Jr. or maybe a Ryu. I wouldn't mind seeing a Liam Paro and a Ryu. I think that'd be a good fight. You know, but Elvis Rodriguez right back at number 5. Then you got Cardington Agrabah. But now we gotta look him up because he jumped up 2 spots. So Elvis is coming up, man. Elvis is coming up. This guy just jumped up, so we gotta look him up and see who he is and what he got going on. This Cardington Agrabah. Lindolfo Delgado. Name still ringing bells, so he's number 7 right here. He's number 7 over here with the WBO. Gabriel Golas Valenzuela. He's 30-4-1. Then you got Isaac Cruz again. They keeping him around. He's up number 9 in the IBF. Then you got this name, Dalton Smith. Everybody talking about Dalton Smith. Then you got Kenny Sims Jr. We talked about Kenny Sims Jr. He was waiting in line for a long time. I think he was in that WBA line for a long time, and then they did that funny business with Rolly and Barroso and them. Then you got Jose Carlos Ramirez, the 10-year champion. So he's number 12 here and number 8 in the WBO. Then you got Matthew Germain. Did we see him? Okay, we might have to look. Then you got Jermaine Ortiz, the guy who arguably beat. He arguably beat. People argue that he beat Loma. You know, I can make a case for how he beat T.O. He just didn't get the nod. It was the business of boxing. Then you got Michelle Rivera. Michelle Rivera had a little shine going on. Frank Martin knocked the luster off, dropped him. You know what I'm saying? Boxed his head off, knocked him down, peeled all the luster off of him. Michelle Rivera, and then, you know, he got caught juicing too. And it's crazy because the biggest narcissist online who's all up in arms about the Osterine, right? The guy that's all up in arms about the Osterine that Ryan had, right? Since he loved to always talk about people on PEDs, right? This same guy, like after Michelle Rivera came up, and because he popped hot in the front, that's what's so ironic. Like the shit that Michelle Rivera, I guess that shit wasn't the strongest Osterine because that didn't stop Frank Martin from busting his ass like a grape, right? So in that same fight where Frank Martin boxed his head off and dropped him, right? He was on something. Well, don't you know they came back? They let this man come right up there on that channel, right? There was no talks about they just breezed all by him being popping hot and all that, and they allowed him to call Tank a bitch on the show. That's why I say, man, people be up there talking, man. Don't get led astray by these dudes who just be talking, and they really truly got their favor. So if they want to smear you, they will smear the shit out you. But then their standards changed and they moved them goalposts because they ain't have no tough talk from Michelle Rivera coming off of actually getting his ass whooped by Frank Martin and popping hot. They ain't have nothing to say. They were just glad to get the interview. Oh man, in the super lightweight, you got Alberto Puello. Nobody cried when Alberto Puello, when he won his title, because he won a title before, right? He popped hot. But guess what? Alberto Puello and them were trying to actually have a child, right? And guess what happened? He wound up going on to have a child. His case is probably more believable because he did actually go on to have a child. He was taking something that, you know what I'm saying, help his soldiers, you know, cross the finish line. And goddamn it, one of them got through like a champ. So he's the champ. And you got that guy Dalton Smith right here again. I'm telling y'all, Dalton Smith. Then you got Sandor Martin, and we seen the trouble that Sandor Martin gave Alberto Puello. I think you could argue that he actually won. At least the first half, it was a tale of two halves, and maybe it was the parable like Keith Thurman said. Gotta know your parables in boxing. You gotta take it from the champ. Maybe Sandor Martin didn't do enough to take it from the champ, but if you go by the 4 scoring criteria and your preference, then maybe he could have got the nod. But it was no, I wouldn't say it was a robbery. You know what I'm saying? I guess more so after having a couple of days, I would say it would be more of a preference. But it was a great fight to watch, man. Like, I couldn't believe how Sandor Martin was stuffing Alberto Puello's offense. They keep Pitbull Cruz up there, man, because he got that fan base, man. They know he gonna sell. People gonna show up. They like Pitbull Cruz. I really think his name should be the Juggernaut, because he got it. Like, if you put that little, like, you can't. He got a jaw, man. He got a jaw. That dude Fierro was cracking the shit. This guy at number 11 was cracking the shit out of Cruz. I think in like the 3rd or 4th round, looked like he's about to drop him. You know what I'm saying? People can argue that Angel Fierro might have won that fight, but it was a close one. It was a Mexican standoff in a shootout. Then you got Jack Catterall. He just got edged by Arnold Barbosa in a very, very close fight. He also arguably beat Josh Taylor before Teofimo Lopez got to him. And you got this dude, Lindolfo Delgado. He's right there. Then you got Liam Paro. You got Sabril Matias. You got Jose Ramirez. You got El Rayo. Then you got Pierce O'Leary. Gotta look him up, but he's undefeated. He went down. You got Angel Fierro. That's the guy that had the Mexican standoff and shootout with Isaac Pitbull Cruz. Adam Azim. I've seen him. Mavladen Biarslovnov, a Canadian. He's up 2 spots, 18-0. You got Steve Claggett. We seen with the water he had with T.O. You know, where T.O. was all busted up, and he went in there in the pocket with T.O. T.O. didn't make the adjustments and get him out of there. That's why I'm kind of nervous for T.O. going up to. I'm not really nervous for him, but like, if I was part of his team, I'd be nervous for him going up there to welterweight, because I'm still questioning whether or not his power left him. The T.O. used to have one punch concussive knockout power at 35. I don't know what happened at 40. He still got it. He can get it done, you know, because of his speed. And when he's on and he get his timing, his quick twitch. But I question that. And then you got my man Elvis Rodriguez right here, man. Elvis Rodriguez gonna get a shot, man. He gonna get another shot. He gonna get a shot. Not another shot, but he gonna get a shot. He's still around. And they saying Michelle Rivera and Josh Taylor dropped out. I think Michelle Rivera is a welterweight now. And Josh Taylor should be a welterweight. The last one with the WBA. I know my man AC gonna be happy about this one. Andy Irioka is number 1. He's number 1 for Gary Antoine. And I'd be curious to see who AC will pick in that fight. But then you got this dude, Cardington Argba. You got Kenny Sims Jr. We talked about him. He had been waiting in that line for the longest time. He's been in this WBA line. He should have been got a shot. So we'll see if they skip him over. But, I mean, who knows? It might be a Kenny Sims and a Gary Antoine. That'll be a decent scrap. Black on black crime. Who knows? You got Isaac Pitbull Cruz here again. We know who Oscar Duarte is. Same dude who Ryan stopped, who went out and stopped Medueno. And Medueno wound up going a distance with Keyshawn. If you believe in triangles and all that, like, because we use them when we want to, when they support our narratives, we use them, but when they don't, we don't. You know what I'm saying? But that was a quick little one. I don't know how he's at number 8 and he got the title right here. I don't know how he's at number 6 and he still got the title here in Gary Antoine. You got Nestor Bravo. His name ringing bells. Nestor Bravo's name is ringing bells. We know who Jack Catterall is. Brandon Pizarro. Kevin Haler Brown. I'm seeing this Mike-Quan Williams again. I think I seen him fight once. Then you got Jukumbayev. Now, Jukumbayev actually ran into Subriel Matias, right? And Jukumbayev was one of them people to where a lot of them guys was not running up ringing his doorbell because he was looking like a terror. I think kind of the verdict is out. Like if you can box a little bit, maintain your distance, and you got some kind of assimilation of power, you can get by him. But he's a dangerous fight for anybody. Alessandro Riguccini. He's 30-0. 30-0. Wow. Gotta look him up. You got Julian Smith. 9-2-0. I don't know how in the world he's even on there. And then you got Jermaine Ortiz. Perhaps a dark horse. Definitely a dark horse with a very nice resume, because you got to think he beat Jamel Herring, he arguably beat Tio, he arguably beat Lomachenko. He just couldn't get the nod. Very, very good resume, man. Solid resume, underrated fighter, man. And he changed his style to where he's going for the stoppages. And you can always give your thoughts. If you ever want to chime in, you can log in and then you can give your thoughts on that. But that's the rate. Those are the rankings, man. So when people say, and I've done this before, where that's how we saw Steve Claggett before it actually happened, and some of them guys is actually getting a shot. So those are some tidbits for 140 pounds. And what's going on, man, and some of these names that we need to actually look up. Now, I got BoxRec because this guy's name is ringing bells. This guy's name right here is ringing bells, right? Let me see. This is the guy everybody's talking about right here. Andy Hirioka. 24-0, 19 KOs. From Japan, he's a southpaw. He's 5'11 and a half with a 74-inch reach. Yikes. I love his nickname, The Blade. Birth name, Andy Justice, man. Hey, everything he sound like, man, he sound like a superhero, don't he? They got him at number 4. Got a 79.17% knockout ratio. That's not bad, man. I mean, he got some kind of power. He got some kind of power, man. He TKO Ishmael Jin Sasaki. He TKO'd Jin Sasaki in the 11th. Other than that, unless you know a lot of these guys, man, these are domestic level fighters that he was over there. You know how you do. You know how it would go down. But he's getting the name. His name's starting to ring bells. Right? It was another guy that I wanted to look up so everybody would get familiar. Okay. Let's see. And why his name is ringing bells. (22-0), 11 knockouts, so he's 50%. He's an orthodox fighter. This is who they talking about. Marvelous Mikewan Williams. He from Connecticut. Let's look. Let's check him out. Let's see who these guys. The Visas Williams. Got a TKO in the 8th, TKO in the 3rd, KO in the 6th. Oh, he got Trayshawn Wiggins on his resume. I don't know what happened to Trayshawn Wiggins, man. His name used to ring mad bells in boxing. Let me just look at this. Oh man, 16-5. He's inactive. When was his last fight? His. Oh, he got a TKO, but see, look. Back in 2019, when he was 6-0. See, those are things that people don't really realize, right? But I didn't know Mikewan Williams shared the ring with Trayshawn Wiggins. You know, but Trayshawn Wiggins, man, his name was ringing bells, man. So that's a little bit about this guy, Mikewan Williams. The other guy that's ringing a lot of bells, man, that everybody keep talking about. That can't be it. Thunder, 17-0, 13 KOs, 76.47. He's from Sheffield, Yorkshire, United Kingdom. He's 28 years old. So he's mature. So he got to be in his physical and mental prime, man. He's number 16. They got a number 3 over there in the UK. He's gonna fight Matthew Germain. That's another name that that's popping up. So something big about to happen for Dawson Smith. Jose Cepeda got him out of there in the 5th round. That's not too shabby. These other guys, domestic level guys over there. So he's really making a name for himself. But since this guy, we've seen this guy name in the rankings, let's look at him, man, so you can be familiar. You can't say you don't know who these guys are. 26-2. He's not too much of a knockout puncher. He's from Canada. Oh man, he got his 2 losses, he got knocked out. Man, looked like Dawson Smith about to do him bad. Or he can KO in the 5th. He got a Steve Claggett. He beat Steve Claggett. This guy beat Steve Claggett. Look. Steve Claggett, he went the distance and won. 96-94, that's close. 97, 93. That's a little separation. 97, 93. A split draw. These are a couple of names that have been popping up in the radar. So I'm gonna stop sharing. I don't know what happened. Aaron Jones. Salute to Aaron Jones, man. Yeah, we got some catching up to do, man. We got some catching up to do, man. But I wanted to go over these 140 rankings, man. Aaron Jones, one of my day ones, man. He out here in Baltimore too. And we ain't got a chance to rap. We ain't got a chance to rap about, you know, the recent, you know, festivities. The recent goings on here lately. But this is a series that I'm gonna continue doing, man. And we dove into some names, we went into some rankings. Ultimately, we went over some guys that I think are problems, and we see why. And I gave my reason as to how and what's gonna happen. But 140 is reloaded, you know, and it's a lot going on at 140, man. It's probably the most competitive division out there besides 154. Besides 154, it's probably the most competitive division out there. And these guys are going to fight each other. Like, it ain't gonna be no ducking. Like, unless people start moving up and moving out the way. If Rohan Polanco stayed at welterweight, oh my goodness, it wouldn't be no, like, these guys were all, but he's probably gonna get it on with Brian Norman. If, you know, I think he's gonna be somewhere on the radar. He's gonna be somewhere on the radar. But that's the show in a nutshell, y'all, for tonight. And I'm gonna keep revisiting this. I'm tired of the circus, y'all. I'm tired of the circus, man. I'm tired of talking about what everybody else is talking about. I'm tired of not feeding people what they need to know about the rankings and some of these boxes, and looking forward in the sport and not being stagnant and rehearsing the same old rhetoric that we hear all over the place. So hopefully we add some nutritional value. Remember, this is fruits and veggies, not that Reggie, that fact-based content, not opinion-based. And all I try to do is get you to think more critically and to add to your little boxing, add to your boxing toolbox, man, with some things. Put some other things on your mind. Get some other fighters on your brain. I'm of these T.O. and Haney and the boxing. Yeah, man. I kind of feel that way too, man. I feel that way too. Salute, DG. I feel that way too, man. It's you know, it's sad, man. It's sad because that's what we yearn for. We yearn for the circus stuff. We yearn for the circus stuff. That's why when I came out a while ago and I did this, that's what it was, man. Don't get me started on this, man. The Trojan horse. I wonder if people's answers to this question back then is the same as it was today. But the financier for the Ringling Brothers, Big Top, Barman and Bailey, like, you know what I'm saying? That's and I'm tired of these. I'm tired of these, man. I don't do this, man. I don't do no sausage party boxing talk. You know what I'm saying? So if you find yourself at a sausage party having some boxing talk, get out! Get out of there, man. But this is what they really be trying to do with us, man. They do the divide and conquer, man. Instead of us keeping our eyes on the prize, they'll divide and conquer us, man. I just try to give us something to look forward to. I try to give us something to look forward to, man. But that's the show in a nutshell, man. Support the channel, hit the like button if you haven't. You know what I'm saying? It's not mandatory, but if I've added any value, put any boxing, any kind of boxing tools in your boxing rucksack, do your boy a favor. Hit the like button. Hit the super chat. You know, the Cash App works. Yeah, DG. He said don't, you know, he basically said he was gonna be at he was in 40 now. He basically said he was at 40 now. So I don't know, man. I kinda gave him a little space because of Earl and him being affiliated with Earl and Earl being, you know, in a situation with man down. It's a lot of iffy things, and when you don't have access, man, to these guys, you really don't know what's going on. But he said as much that he's a 140. He said he was, and I think he's gonna do all right because he's shorter, but he has the size for it. He's not like a pit bull or he's not like a pit bull or a Cambosos to where his dimensions, hurt him. Because he was actually able to outbox the taller, longer Michelle Rivera. Frank Martin can box. And I think that, the thing that happened with him and Tank, it's going to be a lesson for him. Not, it's a loss, yeah. But it's going to be a lesson. If he is focused, if he didn't become bougie and, thinking that he rich now and wealthy and he's really, hungry, if he's still hungry and he still got something to prove, Frank's going to be all right. He gonna be able to do some damage at 140, man. It's just gonna be opportunities, and he might have to, depending on how they're moving him, he might have to go through a little gauntlet. I wouldn't mind seeing him against Gary Antoine. I wouldn't mind seeing him. Really, Frank Martin and De Los Santos need to mix it up. De Los Santos been trying to go at Keyshawn, but I'm like, Keyshawn don't want to play in that 140. He want to pick and choose when he want to go to 140. But these guys be having that selective smoke, man. But I'm thinking, man, if you be realistic and you say, okay, if it's a PBC thing, you got lightning. You already got just add water with Frank Martin and De Los Santos, unless they got plans. Unless they got plans for them guys to go after Puelo and go after Russell. But you got, if you just keep it, if you thinking from a PBC perspective, they got fights to be made. That's why I don't know what people be. It be the bias of that. They got fights to be made. It's fights to be made over there at Matchroom. It's fights to be made over there at Matchroom with Tito Mercado. He called out Shakur. Shakur said he would go to 40 for Cruz. He say nobody will fight him. So that's a lie when you say nobody will fight you and you got people over there on your label that will fight you. So, and Frank Martin say he want that, he still wants some of that Shakur smoke, even though I think he should have took that fight, man. He should have risked the biscuit and just took that fight, man. Because if he seen that fight, once he seen that fight and how Shakur fought De Los Santos, I know he was slapping himself, man, like damn. But he had to, he wound up getting the Tank fight and he got the bag, but he got knocked out. So, you know what I'm saying? That wound up being a lesson for him. But I'm not gonna hold you. This is gonna be a continuous series. I'm gonna let it go. Don't forget Keith Thurman fight early in the morning over there in Australia. By the time y'all wake up, you probably be looking at the highlights. I'm gonna get up. I'm gonna be watching it. So I'm gonna let you know. And Aaron Jones, holla at me, man. Holla at me, Aaron Jones. I gotta have you on here, man, so we can chop it up, man, and catch up, man. It's been a minute. But I appreciate everybody who came through and showed support. You know what I'm saying? Thanks for the 300, man. I appreciate y'all. You take your time out to listen, even on the playback. Talk to me. I talk back. I engage with everybody. You know, I'm not here to say I'm perfect. I know everything. I'm not above anybody. You know, I'm just here to open up your mind, man. Enhance your critical thinking skills. Give you an alternative to what everybody is saying. And I can't veer off from the truth, you know, because that's the only way I survive. I just call it how I see it. And I got people that's been around that can vouch, like my man Koki, Victor Cologne, Aaron Jones, Uga. It's a lot of my Johnny Allison. I don't know where Johnny Allison been. A lot of my guys I haven't seen, but if you catch this, man, holler at me. Let me know you still, you know, rocking with your boy. But anyways, thanks for choosing Bodywork Boxing. But we don't take things for face value. We do that body.
He didn't want to box. He wanted to actually prove that he could punch with you. He was like, what the fuck is this nigga, right? Oh, okay, you want to go to sleep. You tired.
Welcome to Bodywork.